This is an certainly appropriate gospel today as we celebrate the feast of St. Athanasius, who fought so ardently for the divinity of Jesus against the Arians. The Father and I are one. And sometimes when we see depictions of the Holy Trinity, modern depictions anyways, and by modern I mean, this is kind of funny, from like the 14th century forward. but when you see ancient depictions of the Trinity, this is different. So I'm only kind of talking about sort of Renaissance artwork forward. There's this depiction of the Trinity where the Father is sort of this old man, not frail or anything by any means, but just sort of this old man like Odin, right? And then there's the Son, who's depicted as this young, strong warrior type fellow. You know, if he's got a beard, it's very colorful and trim, you know, like Thor. And then, you know, you've got this articulation of the Holy Spirit, which is usually pretty pathetic. It's a dove, you know, with some rays coming out of its wings, like doves have rays coming out of their wings. And you know, this is fine, and obviously it's an archetypal understanding of God, because we can link it to other religious expressions of their attempt to understand divinity in communion, right? The Odin and Odin's son is only one expression of where we can see the truth of God resplendent in many religions, in many true religions, but only fully revealed and fully understood as best as a human can understand it in the revelation of Jesus Christ in Christianity, right? Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. But that delineation of person is a dangerous one if we go too far and think the Father looks this way, the Father is older, the Father is this old man, the Father is Father, and the Son in some way is subordinate to, different from, apart from the Father. And the Holy Spirit, God only knows what the Holy Spirit is. He doesn't even have hands. He's just a dove, right? But God, singular in his substance and Trinitarian in his personhood, are one, is one. Right? And now, the other danger here is to say that God is merely one, and he only presents three different faces of his one head to us. This is an antithetical heresy called modalism. Okay? This is what Hinduism is. Okay? So on the one hand, you have polytheism, right? God, Thor is God, Odin is God. I feel gross even saying those words up here. But that's kind of if you take the Trinitarian persons and you separate them into three independent persons, you get polytheism. On the other hand, though, if you're too tight with the attempt of maintaining monotheism, you actually, oddly enough, you get Hinduism, which is modalism, where a single God, a single entity of divinity, presents himself, manifests itself in innumerable ways to humanity in all of the different pagan Hindu god names. They're all essentially a mask for a single divine entity, right? So they're not really themselves. They're merely just manifestations or masks of this one. That's not correct either. Of course, you can see, though, and this is a credit to humanity throughout the world and throughout time, that no matter what time or place you're a human being in living, you're seeking the one true God. All of these people, by their own human ingenuity, are trying to articulate what they can understand naturally of God. But that's as far as you can get. Wrong. Wrong is as close as we can get to God by our own human ingenuity. It requires a response from God, a revelation from God in his own person of Jesus Christ, in order to articulate to us accurately and with great difficulty who he is. The Father and I are one. I'm not the Father, but the Father and I are one. And that is difficult. And so we understand the Trinity as we articulate it in the Creed. I believe in Jesus Christ, the only Son of God, born of the Father before all ages, God from God, light from light, true God from true God, begotten, not made. That's important. Jesus is not a separate creature from the Father. He wasn't made by the Father, but he kind of came out of the Father. Begotten, not made. Consubstantial, of the same substance. And for us, he, that one person, different from the Father but consubstantial, took on flesh and further identified himself from the Father in his personhood and took on flesh and became Jesus so that we could understand who he is. Because he's looking down from heaven, not really, but he's looking down from heaven and he's seeing how badly we want to know who he is. He sees Hindus, he sees Buddhists, he sees Confucius, he sees pagan native stuff, and he's like, my people are so lost. Look at how badly they want to know me. They're worshiping trees, for crying out loud, and rocks. I need to go down to them and show them who I am. Which means that people who worship trees and rocks are still wrong. It doesn't mean now that Jesus came that everybody's right. It means that we have actually, finally, now, definitively, the way to know who God is as perfectly as he has allowed us to know it. There is a way, there is a truth, and there is a life for us, and it is in Jesus Christ and in no other. And it's in Jesus Christ precisely because Jesus and the Father are one. That Christ, allowing us to know him and thereby love him and thereby be made a member of him, be in communion with him, we might share with him the same communion he has with the Father. To be consubstantial, to be in the eternal communion of three persons, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, united in the common bond of their singular and exclusive divinity. And he sent his Son so that we could be invited into that union of different persons. That's tremendous. Because the implications of that means that everything that is created was created by him. Not by somebody else, and we just happen to like this God better. Or he does for us what we prefer. Right? There's the God of trees and there's the God of rivers, and I like rivers better, so I worship the God of rivers. No. If I like rivers better than trees, I still worship the same God as a person who likes trees more than rivers. It means also then that all of humanity has a universal belonging and longing for that same one God. And that there is a duty, therefore, incumbent upon those who know who he is to help their brothers and sisters, their natural brothers and sisters in this world, to come to know who he is so they can be actual brothers and sisters because they have become sons and daughters of the one Father in the one Son, Jesus Christ. There's no way around that. It's not okay for people to worship God wrongly. That's not okay. That's not necessarily their fault. but they're not getting what they want out of what they're doing. And if we know that, and if we know how we can do it rightly to get what we want out of it, why aren't we telling people that? I say there's 3 reasons. 1, we don't believe it ourselves. Shame on us. 2, we're embarrassed. Shame on us. And 3, we simply hate them. We're racist, or we're bigoted, or we're nationalistic, or whatever, and shame on us. There is literally no reason not to share the gospel that doesn't end with shame on us. Not one. Because Jesus has taken on flesh. He has revealed to us who is the Father. Remember Philip's question? Or Thomas's? Show us the Father, and that'll be enough for us. Have you been with me for so long, Philip/Thomas, that you do not know? If you have seen me, you know who it is? Who is it? Philip. Have you not been with me for so long, Philip, that you do not know that if you have seen me, you have seen the Father? Every single human being on this planet wants to see the Father. And we have seen Jesus. Will we keep his face from those who have not?